So my favorite rider to work with is Chris Froome. Another favorite of mine was Mark Cavendish and Geraint Thomas. I have a few favorite riders. It's hard just to pick one. There's a bunch of great riders out there. I've become friends with most of them. So I say Geraint Thomas, I watched him mature as a bike rider. I was with him when he did his first Tour de France 7 years ago, and he hung on. I think he finished second last in that Tour de France. And if you watch the tour this year, you saw him. He was fourth overall for a big chunk of this year's Tour de France, and played a key role for Chris Froome. So he's one of my favorite characters. Really sharp with the tongue. If you do an interview with him, I think he's a double Olympic gold medalist as well. No, just a fantastic, easygoing guy. He's not a guy that would brag about his results or anything. Just a normal character. Same with Chris. I think Chris, you could put in a tent. You can pitch a tent for him to sleep in, and he'll be happy to sleep in that. Chris is not a guy that needs to be treated like royalty or the super famous bike rider. He's just a real down-to-earth character. He still is. Except he doesn't have a lot of time on his hands. There's a lot of people that want interviews with him or need a bit of his time. And I think right now, I was with him 2 days ago in London, and he's in Japan now. So he's got a really busy schedule. Like a really fantastic guy. Really, for instance, like in the race, he'll ask how far is the next climb, and we'll tell him, okay, it's 5 kilometers from here, and he'll go, thank you very much. Or he'll grab a water bottle from one of the carriers on the side of the road, and he'll turn around and shout thank you. Like he's that type of character. So I enjoy these. I enjoy people that, for me, it's hard to say. I bring everybody down to my level, so I don't treat them as these superstars and these superheroes that they are. I bring them down. Otherwise, I can't work with them. So basically, like anybody off the street, I would treat his bike the same as I would treat Chris Froome's bike, and so forth. And I think that's what makes it easier for me to work with these guys. As soon as you treat them as these top bike professionals or whatever, you'll battle and you'll stress, and you can't work on their bikes properly. So yeah, I'll bring them down to my level. It's a fantastic company first to work with. I've been working closely with Fausto Pinarello. Really great guy. He's really passionate. Typical Italian character. You can see why a lot of the Italian brands are so popular, because there's a lot of it's driven by a lot of passion behind the scenes. I think in the recent years of them sponsoring Team Sky, there's been a lot of progression with the bikes and with the equipment. I think before Team Sky, there was a bit of a how can you put it? There was a bit of a dead spot in the industry where there was not a lot of development going on, and now it's really fast-paced. There's a lot of development now. It's really fast. If you look at, like in the car industry, they bring out new models every single year, and the bike industry is now taking a similar trend to that. So in the past, Shimano or somebody would bring out one group set, and they'll be the group set for 5 years. Now it's every year there's something new coming out. And what's nice about the Pinarello brand is that they're totally on top of it now. They've had Jaguar come in and assist on the technical side of things to develop a super aero bike. So we ended up now with the F8. The Dogma F8, a fantastic bike. It's lighter than the previous version. It's a lot more aero, 46% more aero than the previous model. And it's won the Tour de France now, so it's definitely shown that it's a top bike out there. So basically, I was sitting on top of the volcano in Tenerife with Chris Froome. We just finished I would like to say we just finished a 6-hour ride, but he was riding and I was following him in a car. And we sat at this beautiful cafe overlooking this mountain range, and just having a coffee there. And I said to him, let's do something special for the Tour de France. We always have the same bike, the same colors, and I mean, he's a previous winner of the Tour de France. Let's do something special. And I said to him, look, just before I left South Africa, there was a lot of news on the television and the newspapers about rhinos being butchered. And So I said, why, let's do something, put like a rhino design on the bike. And it ties him a bit to Africa. I mean, he did grow up here in South Africa and in Kenya. And I said, he can make a difference, an active difference in the rhino poaching, where my voice will just be lost out there. Like most of us, we all care about it, but our voices will just get lost. And I said, you can make a difference. And he said, brilliant idea, let's go for it. And I got hold of the marketing department of Team Sky and told them the idea. It wasn't that easy. They said, great idea, but nothing really happened. And it took a bit of persuasion. And once the Tour de France started, the bike still wasn't in production yet. And it took some more persuasion on my part. I said, look, Chris is now in yellow. Let's do something special for him. And they eventually agreed, and Pinarello came up with that design. And the beauty about it, when it was launched, it was even tweeted by Prince William and Prince Harry. They were put on their Twitter account because they are part of the Wildlife Foundation. And it was stunning. I mean, it got headline news across the world, and Chris did make a difference. So it was my idea, but I mean, all credit to Chris. I mean, he's the guy who's actually taken it further. So all credit belongs to Chris, and in Pinarello doing it, making the design for us. So plenty of people don't really understand what goes on behind the scenes at the Tour de France, just in the preparation. So for this year's Tour de France, we had one cobblestone stage. And in that stage, we needed additional 27 bikes. We had to build 27 bikes just for a one stage. That was it. It was only going to get used once and never again. So that's just for I think it was stage 4 that we did this year. Now, in total, in this year's Tour de France, Chris had 14 bikes, and that's just Chris. We have 9 riders, but he had 14 bikes. The average rider in the Tour this year had 12 bikes. Had 10 bikes. So you're looking at excess. There's about 95 bikes that we're using in this year's Tour de France. So there's 4 mechanics. We have an additional Jaguar mechanic that travels with us. We have a lot of bumper bashings, a lot of crashes in the car itself as well, following the riders. So we need a mechanic to repair the car on a daily basis. It's quite scary. I was in 4 bumper bashings in 6 days. And then we had a kitchen truck, so the riders eat inside there. We have 2 chefs cooking for them. We have a nutritionist on board. We have a team doctor. We have 2 coaches there. We have 6 carers. The carers basically prepare the race food, or the race food for the riders. They prepare our sandwiches for the afternoon, and they do all the washing and the cleaning up. And then like I said, there's 4 mechanics. So there's 2 mechanics in the race. So there's 2 race cars in every stage of the tour. I stay in the first race car, and then we have a second race car. So in case we have a crash and one bike is broken, we've got an emergency. We have a spare bike on the first race car, and then we have a second spare bike for each rider as well on the second car. So we'll generally just swap the bikes on the roof around if we start breaking bikes due to a lot of crashes. And then it's just a lot goes into it. A lot of people don't realize, like when you watch television and you see the stage finishing at 6 o'clock in the evening, we're only finishing the stage. Then we've got a 100-kilometer drive on average back to the hotel. And then we can only start working on 27 bikes. And a lot of times we only arrive at the hotel at about 8:30, 9 o'clock in the evening. Now we can only start washing every single bike, checking 27 bikes. And if there are any crashes, we need to replace frames and so forth. So it's a hell of a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes. Average, we'd finish working at between 11:30 and 12 at night. We'll be up 7 o'clock in the morning, and then the day starts all over again, and that we'll do for 3 weeks. Time trials are super stressful. So for this year's Tour de France, they flew us on a private jet to where the time trial was being held. We did TT testing there. We saw that we would need 58 chain rings. So we managed to get hold of Shimano. They gave us some prototype chain rings for that. Flew back to where the start of the Tour de France was. It started 2 days later. So that's why we had insight of what the team time trial was going to be like beforehand, where most teams just rocked up there, never saw the route, had no idea what it's going to be like. First time they could test the circuit was that morning. Our guys had ridden the circuit, saw it was a super fast circuit. They needed better gearing for it, and you know, that's the difference, I guess, that Team Sky make. You know, so and at the end of the day, you know, a lot of work goes into a lot of effort.